Tom Clark's Main Event is a Boink Studios production. Follow us on Twitter at Boink Studios and check out our Facebook page where you can see all of our projects, past, present, and future. And now, on with the show.
This is Daddy's show. Step off.
Hey, what is up? Welcome to the program, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tom Clark, and you are listening to Tom Clark's Main Event. This is episode number 54 of the podcast, and if you're joining us today for the very first time, we will bid you welcome. If you're coming back for a repeat visit, we say, hey, thanks for checking back in with us. And to all those involved, we will extend to you, as always, the customary laurel and a hearty handshake. Thanks for listening. Thanks for reading. Thanks for supporting. And hey, thanks for always being there, Doc. I'm Tom. This is my show. What's up? I could just begin the program like that. Why don't I do that, by the way? Why do I always feel the need to go through this great big long introduction? What does this say about me? Am I just starved for attention? Do I have a problem? Is that what it is? Do I need therapy? This is my Mark Maron rant, by the way, if you haven't picked up on that. Any Mark Maron fans out there? No? Anyone? Come on, man. He's awesome. But anyway, as we said before, this is the main event. Welcome to the program. This is the WWE-focused podcast that we do here under the umbrella of Boink Studios, which, by the way, are coming to you today from the very lovely and spacious Boink Studios, as it were. The production company is owned by myself and good friend Kyle Smith, and here we do all sorts of great stuff online, yo. So please feel free to check us out. We're going to give you some information later on in the program. We're not going to waste a whole lot of time today. Let's go ahead and get started, shall we? This time, the main event is Brock Lesnar, John Cena, and the WWE brand split. There's some stuff to talk about, man. Since the last time I was with you guys, a lot of stuff has gone down in the world of WWE. Before we get started into that part of it, really quickly, we will send out our heartfelt condolences and our sympathies to the family of the greatest of all time, Muhammad Ali. Whether you're a boxing fan now, or you're a boxing fan then, or you just don't care about the sport, no one can deny the impact he had, not just on the sport of boxing, not just in the world of sports in general, but on pop culture itself, on the world itself, not just in this country, but all over the world. His presence was felt by everyone that ever followed him, that ever saw an interview with him, that ever shook his hand. Muhammad Ali left behind a lasting legacy, the likes of which will never be matched by anyone, especially in his sport. And the shame of this is, of course, is that within the span of a year's time, we've lost the two best talkers in the history of professional sports, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and the greatest of all time, Muhammad Ali. So, again, sympathies go out to Muhammad Ali's family. All the best to them as they go through the grieving process. It's not an easy thing to do. Trust me, anyone that's ever lost anyone can tell you. Grieving it's not easy. It's something that you have to do in your own way, in your own time. And it's extremely hard. So, even if you know the end is coming, it makes no difference. Accepting the loss is a terrible thing, and it's extremely painful. So, again, all the best. And like we said, man, his legacy will never be duplicated. Not only one of the best boxers, one of the best. The best boxer of all time. I mean, really, if you think about it, man, who you got that's bigger than Ali? There's no one. He completely conquered his sport. I mean, he is by far the standout boxer of all time. But as we said, his popularity, his influence, his impact stretched far beyond the squared circle. It went far beyond that. It went into American consciousness. His image is recognized all around the world. It will always be. Honestly, if you think about it, there's Coke, there's Muhammad Ali, there's the Superman logo. I mean, it's stuff that's Americana, a baseball. You know what I mean? I mean, if you could just do a time capsule and put in the things that represent this country, I mean, you would put those items in because that's who we are, and Muhammad Ali is who we are. And again, he will be missed. All the best to the family of the late great Muhammad Ali. Okay, so sorry to start the program off on sort of a down note, but it's a time of celebration, yes, because now's the time. If you've not watched his matches, if you've not seen his interviews, first of all, you've been living under a rock for 30 years or whatever. Maybe you're just, I don't know, dude, maybe you're 15, 16, you've never seen the guy. Do yourself a favor and go to YouTube when you stop listening to this. Listen to this first, would you? And check out his work because he is... by far the greatest of all time. And like I said before, we'll miss him. So let's move on, man. Let's get to the main event here. Right off the bat, we're going to hit you with our analysis, our opinion. And here's the funny part. I have yet to write about Brock since the news broke. Brock Lesnar will be facing Mark Hunt, is the guy's name. And he will be facing him at UFC 200. No, folks, it's not a WWE event. It is the Ultimate Fighting Championship, my friends. Brock coming back. Isn't that something? Well, let's talk about this real quick. Brock Lesnar is the most explosive athlete in the history of the sport of professional wrestling. And he may be one of the biggest stars. If you've got some diehard UFC fans out there that can't stand him, who are more traditional UFC guys, and they think that all he did was come in and get paid, and he did. But that oversimplifies what he can do and the intensity that he has. And I mean, let's face it, he was a UFC champion, whether you like it or not. Love him or hate him, man, he did get there. He did accomplish his goal, and that was to become the best in his chosen sport. Maybe not the way Ali did, of course, two totally different guys, but I'm saying his chosen profession. Brock became the best. He became the best in the history of UFC, maybe. Again, man, I'm not a diehard UFC fan. I'm not against it. I don't dismiss it as not being important. I can see where UFC has taken a lot of their modern-day presentations straight from the world of pro wrestling, which, it's smart business on their part because WWE sells. It's a money-making machine. So UFC was smart to do that. Dana White has rubbed people the wrong way. Ariel Helwani, and forgive me if I'm mispronouncing the name, banned for life from covering UFC sporting events because he broke the news early of Brock Lesnar signing for UFC 200. This is arrogance, the likes of which have not been seen in a long time, at least not from my end. I write about WWE all the time, and I write for Bleacher Report. I'm on Sportskeeda, Camel Clutch blog. I do my own stuff. I do a podcast about the business. I can't imagine being told, you can't do this for us anymore. You're banned. I mean, barring some, ridiculous misstep on my part in terms of being a writer. I mean, something extreme like plagiarism or, something like that, or just, lying about facts or whatever the case may be, not fact checking maybe, but to be banned from the sport itself, from that company, like I don't mean what? Again, the arrogance is baffling to me, and it's enormous amount of arrogance coming from Dana White in particular. Now, are there two sides to every story? You would assume so, right? So I don't know the other side, but from a writer's perspective, I kind of have Helwani's back, to be honest with you. I can't really side with anybody else. It's not in me to do it. So he's going to be fine. It's not like he's out of work. But the fact that he can no longer go to the live events, that's got to suck. I can't imagine. But, so the UFC is a different, just off on a tangent here real quick, UFC is a different animal than WWE for obvious reasons. They're going after the same demographic, but it's apples and oranges. Because pro wrestling is not fighting, and fighting is not pro wrestling, okay? And again, I have nothing against UFC. I don't watch it. I watch more boxing now than I did before. Showtime Championship Boxing with Mauro Ranallo. A little plug there for you. I'm starting to become familiar with the fighters that are featured. I think it's like every 2 weeks on Showtime on Fridays, I believe it is. I'm starting to become a little bit more familiar with these guys than I was before. I will let my kid watch boxing. I will not let my kid watch UFC because I have an easier time explaining to my 7-year-old that the world of pro wrestling is give and go, that it's a cooperative effort on the part of both guys to get a match over. It's not about winning a title. It's about entertaining the fans. I have an easier time telling him that. And see, here's the thing. People say, well, Tom, you ruin it for your kid. No, I don't. He's 7. He still loves it. He gets into it. He still cheers John Cena. It doesn't affect anything. He's more floored by the athleticism of what's going on in the ring, as he should be. That's what I want. I don't need my 7-year-old believing that the way you solve your problems is by beating another man in the face, which is why he doesn't get to watch UFC. So, all due respect, and it's nothing personal. I have a ton of respect for the guys that get in the octagon as I do the guys that get in pro wrestling ring. This is aside from Dana White or Vince McMahon or whoever else is calling the shots in either business, because you better believe UFC is a business, man, not just a sport, yes. But, and again, all the respect in the world for that, but I just, number one, I'm not really that much of a fan, if I'm being honest with you, and it's nothing personal, and I don't dismiss the sport at all. But again, 7-year-old, man, I can't have him thinking that. So, I let the cat out of the bag a while back about the business of pro wrestling, so he knows. But when it comes to UFC, he's just not ready for it yet, and I don't want him watching it yet. So that's the end of that. Brock Lesnar, biggest crossover star in the history of both sports. You can say that, right? We can absolutely give him that. Until Punk has his first UFC fight and wins. Or how about he just has his first UFC fight, period? And that's not a slight to Punk. I'm the biggest Punk fan you probably know. Ton of respect for CM Punk. And anyone who's a pro wrestling fan should have a ton of respect for CM Punk. Because he came into a business into which, you're classified as an independent contractor for WWE. You're not an employee. Let's all get that straight. You guys know that, right? WWE classifies you as an independent contractor, okay? That way you're not an employee of WWE. That way they can, there's so many loopholes, and they can get rid of contracts. They can do whatever they want to do. It opens the doors for that. See, in terms of my writing career, I go through the same thing. I'm considered an independent contractor. That's who I am. That's what I am. That way I can go anywhere I want to. I'm not sailed to any one company. Now, it doesn't work that way specifically in WWE, of course. Once you sign with WWE, he's not going to let you show up on TNA the next night. I mean, obviously, but, that's what these guys are, independent contractors. But, so again, all the respect in the world for Punk. All the respect in the world for Brock Lesnar. He's the guy we're supposed to be talking about here, right? Biggest crossover star in the history of both sports. You better believe that's a fact. Brock Lesnar is... It's a tough subject because I've written about Brock so many times over the past 2 years since he came back. He came back in 2012, is that right? I believe it was when he came back. I actually came back and F5 John Cena on Raw. I could be wrong about the year, but I'm thinking it's 2012. But ever since he's come back in these past 2 years or so, I mean, I've been writing about the guy nonstop, and he's such an interesting character. It's such a deep well of information to draw from. And I've given my take on Brock Lesnar so many times before, and I will continue to do so. Brock Lesnar, in my estimation, yes, he is the Beast Incarnate. He is exactly what WWE has portrayed him to be. He is exactly what that company shows him to be. He's exactly what he claims to be and what he shows himself to be in the ring each and every time he's in there. He is an absolute monster. There's no denying that. Okay? Here's the issue when it comes to Brock Lesnar. And you guys know this. And if you don't know it, but you've read it, or if you know it and you just don't know how to verbalize it, well, here it is in a nutshell. Brock Lesnar has been booked to the moon, okay? What's wrong with that? Nothing, obviously. You go with the cash cow. Brock Lesnar is a cash cow. He's going to make a ton of money at this UFC 200 thing. He's going to make a ton of money when he comes back to WWE in August, yes, at SummerSlam. He's going to make a ton of money for both companies. They're going to make a ton of money off of him. Straight up. He's a cash cow. But when you book a guy to the moon, Don't forget, it's a long walk back. And here's what I mean by that. Brock Lesnar has been booked as the unstoppable, vicious monster to end all monsters. No big man in the history of WWE can hold a candle to Brock in terms of what he's accomplished. No man in the history of the business can hold a candle to Brock in terms of his character, of his persona. Brock is hawk and animal rolled into one with no weaknesses. Okay? Straight up. You can't touch him. The dude is 38, yes, 39 I think he is. Brock, he's untouchable. He's untouchable. Now, he didn't have to be this way, but guess what? This is how he's been booked, okay? And as long as this is how he is booked, Brock Lesnar has no challengers. Did you hear what I said? All you Kevin Owens fans out there? Brock Lesnar has no challengers. Brock Lesnar has one guy, and it ain't Kevin Owens. It's Samoa Joe. That's it. That's it. For anyone else to sit here on this podcast or any other podcast in a column, in a comment section, in an email, by carrier pigeon, doesn't make a difference to me. For anyone on this planet claiming to me that there's another guy in WWE's locker room right now that can go toe-to-toe with Brock and sell tickets, make money, and get the marquee matchup to be the main event of a major pay-per-view, dude, you have got to be high as a kite right now. There's no one else besides Samoa Joe. Or John Cena. They're not going to go that route right now. They've already went the route of Triple H. They could go Randy Orton. Let's don't forget about, Randy Orton. The Viper. The Viper versus the Beast. It's possible, right? I mean, people have been flirting with the idea of Orton versus Brock. It's an intriguing matchup, yes. Mostly because Randy is very good at what he does. Randy is, and this is what Punk has called Randy before, he called him a mechanic. That Randy's very mechanical in his moves. He likes to do the same thing every time. He doesn't like to sway from that. He can't really roll with the punches. Well, maybe not to say that he can, but he really doesn't want to. He likes to follow his basic formula. I'm not talking about, rip off the shirt and leg drop and 1, 2, 3. And then, pose for the crowd after the match is over with your headband on. I'm not saying that formulaic. Don't get me wrong here. But he likes to do the same stuff all the time. But I'm thinking about it in terms of height, how he would match up physically. I mean, other than Batista or Goldberg. And which, by the way, sort of a sidestep here on you, Goldberg is the focus of WWE 2K17, which yours truly has pre-ordered for the Xbox One, so shut up. Come at me. I don't even care. I'm whatever age I am, and I'm a kid. I don't care, dude. Whatever. But when Goldberg showed back up on the 2K17 commercial, people immediately said, "Oh, Brock Lesnar," and they teased it at the end of the commercial. You can see Suplex City, like in the reflection in the window of the police car, and you're like, "Dude, really? Like they're just throwing that in your face?" WWE likes to throw stuff in your face. That's what they do. They get off on that. So don't anyone go nuts right now. Has there been a conversation had between, like a phone call, say between Brock and Triple H, or Brock and maybe even Shane at this point? Maybe Brock and the old man. Who knows? Vince. I don't know. But somewhere at some point saying, "What do you think about Bill?" And then Brock's response would be, "Well, dude, he's not been in the game in a long time. What kind of shape's he in?" And that kind of thing. And then go from there. I'm not saying it's happened. I'm not reporting that. So don't anyone go to their keyboards and start sending out a lot of crazy messages that Tom at Bleacher Report's got the scoop. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if it happened, I would not be surprised. This is a business, yes? And the business is all about making money. It's all about exposure. It's all about publicity. It's all about doing everything necessary to sell a match and to sell tickets and everything that goes along with it. So I would not be surprised at all if the conversation was had. But again, you have to come up. You have to come up. Dean Ambrose wasn't coming up to Brock's level. And it's no disrespect to Dean. He's Dean Ambrose. He's the guy that can't put together more than 2 wins at a time. Is he booking himself? Well, of course not. They're doing it to him. But at the same time, Brock needs someone big. Why? Because Brock is not in the business of making guys. It's not what he does. He's never really done it. He's probably not going to start now. Does that mean to say that he shouldn't? I didn't say that. I think Brock is at the stage now in his career where he could absolutely make somebody. Seriously. And get that guy over to the moon. But it ain't going to be Undertaker. Undertaker's already had his career. You see what I'm saying? So who does Brock face? Brock has faced one guy since he came back in 2012, and it's Dean Ambrose. That is not up to his level. That's it. You could say Roman, I guess, but Roman was on his way to that level. Seth Rollins, I guess, yes. But again, Seth was either at that level, the way where the company wanted to be, or he was getting there, or one of the two, who knows. But, Brock has faced the Shield now, okay? And they are the future of the company, not just the future, but the present. But he didn't have to make them. They were already made men. So Brock's not in the business of doing that. Brock's in the business of selling tickets for your main event tonight. That's what he's doing. And so if you want him to do that, you need to put somebody in there whose name looks good on the marquee next to the word versus. Okay? Got to get a good name beside the VS period or it's not going to happen. See what I mean? And that's just common sense. But again, the problem is his booking is incredibly intense, incredibly strong, and no one can believably pin Brock Lesnar at this very moment. Think about that for a second. No matter who you put against Brock, Samoa Joe included, folks, okay? I said that he's the only guy in the company that can legitimately face Brock and make it look good. All right, if you want to say Nakamura, fine. Say Shinsuke Nakamura, that's fine. But again, Brock's style is, I'm going to punch you in the face, I'm going to suplex the crap out of you until you tap out or until you pass out. That's what he does, right? That's what he does, man. Tap out or pass out. That's it. That's what Brock Lesnar does. He comes straight at you like a rabid bulldog, and that's what he does, okay? A slow-paced style is not going to work because if you're a babyface facing Brock, you got to come out with a flurry. You have to, like Dean tried to. You have to, because you're trying to make a dent. I mean, think about it, man. It's like trying to take a grain of sand and throwing it at a Humvee, hoping you can make a dent in the door. I mean, think about that, man. It's a massive comparison, but it's the truth, man. Now, is this Brock's doing? Again, no. Has Brock dictated that he be, a combination of Superman and Doomsday? Well, I don't know. Maybe. But I know that's how WWE's booked him. And once he's been booked that way, there's no turning back. Because once you book a guy like that and maintain it, then you have to maintain it. And again, he's a cash cow. I understand why they do it. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I will tell you this. They've painted themselves in a corner with Brock Lesnar. Now, do they care? Is it a bad thing? Not necessarily, but it is what it is. They can't put anybody in the ring against Brock that's a credible threat to him that could actually is believed to pin it besides Joe at this point. He's it. Don't tell me Kevin Owens. Now, I've complained about Kevin before. You guys know this. If you read my stuff, you know this for sure. I like Kevin. I don't dislike Kevin. I think Kevin has a lot going for him. I think Kevin is a great little heel. Number one, he's not the top heel in the company. That's going to be Seth again. Number two, Kevin refuses to lose weight. Now, you can bash me if you want to. You can call me names. Kevin can call me names and block me. He does it all the time to guys. He does. It's his thing. It's cool. But when you are in the world's largest pro wrestling company, you need to have a little bit more self-respect, in my humble opinion. Now, again, I'm not suggesting he go change everything about himself. I'm not saying he has to go look like Hogan. I'm not saying he's got to go get jacked like Luger. I'm not saying he's got to get ripped like Cena. I'm not saying that at all, dude. So don't put words in my mouth. What I am telling you is that when Owens is flat on his back, his gut is higher than his nose, okay? And something needs to be done about that. It's the biggest drawback I have with him. It's the truth. If Dean were not in shape, but he just, in other words, his arms weren't if his arms weren't muscled, if he wasn't muscled at all, but he's still, like, in other words, he's not fat, okay? He's just a slim guy, then I wouldn't have a problem. Do you see what I'm saying? Thin is fine. Muscled is fine. Fat is not fine. And you're talking to the guy that's the biggest Dusty Rhodes fan you've ever seen. I hear that comparison. Well, Tom, Foley wasn't small or thin. Dusty absolutely wasn't. Bray's not. Kevin's not any of those guys. Okay? Again, this is just my perspective. If you disagree, go with God. It's fine. But if Kevin Owens set foot in the ring against Brock Lesnar, he'd look like an ant. And if that's what that company wants, then yeah, go for it. It's fine. Joe would not. Joe would look like that rabid bulldog we were just talking about, who's ready to tear back into Brock if Brock lays a hand on him. I mean, can you really believe, do you really see Brock Lesnar beating the living crap out of Joe in the first 2 seconds, the point that Joe couldn't respond? Absolutely not. He could do that to about anyone in the company besides Hunter, Triple H, John Cena, and to anyone else. He's not going to do that to Joe. Seriously. And again, only a handful of guys you can say that about. Taker, okay? Big Show, maybe. Joe has got to be in that category. I have to believe that. Which, by the way, by the time you listen to this, he might have lost the NXT Championship back to Finn Balor. So his dance card will be open. He's got a while to wait, though, so he could drop that belt anytime before August gets here. There you go. But I think, for my money, Samoa Joe versus Brock Lesnar. I'm straight up, man. Book that match. Now, could they do Goldberg? Yeah, they could do Goldberg. I think they could. I mean, can he handle it? I don't know. Again, like I said before, how's he doing? How you doing? Right? I don't know, man. Does he have any interest in it? He said on Twitter before that he's open to it. I tweeted him one time and asked him if he'd be open to it. He said, I am open to it. But he said it a lot before, yes? So I don't have any idea, man. But I will tell you this. Brock Lesnar is a cash cow. Despite how he's booked, and he's booked to the moon. He is, man. And it's a really hard time finding anybody that can float up that high as he is. To be honest with you. He's running out of opponents. He's beating everyone. But I tell you this, don't be surprised when it's Cena versus Lesnar again and Cena wins the match. Because he's going to win that feud. Because Brock won the feud. John wins every feud. He won the feud with Punk. He won against Orton. He won against Edge. He's beaten everyone. He won against Shawn and Triple H. If he ever worked Taker, he'd beat Taker too. Because it's John, man. John beats everybody. Hell, John pinned me, dude. Are you kidding? He pins everybody. I'm serious. You guys know that. I'm not bashing. I'm just saying, man. Just saying. But that's the deal with Brock is, again, he is booked to the moon. Everyone knows that. Again, it's really, really hard to book against him and have it be believable. I'm just being honest with you, man. And like I said before, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not necessarily meant to be taken in negative connotation or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all, okay? Seriously. But what I am telling you is they've painted themselves in a corner. Can they come out of it swinging and make a ton of money with Brock? Probably, yeah. I'm interested to see how they do it at SummerSlam. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know how they're going to do it. It's going to be interesting to see. I'm going to probably watch UFC 200. I had no interest in watching it, but I will now, which is, I'm sure, part of the reason why they're letting him come back and I was going to try to say work a match. Getting ready to fight, right? It's going to be hard to separate the two, man. I'm sorry, but it's probably one of the reasons why they let Brock come back is because they know it's going to be a payday for them. They're going to pick up people that maybe had never watched UFC before who are just WWE fans or who maybe haven't watched in a long time or both. Probably both, dude. And people maybe that don't even follow the sport, either sport at all. They just have heard about it and their boy's going to watch it, so they're going to watch it with them. I mean, it's just one of those things where there's going to be a lot of eyes on UFC 200 as well as SummerSlam. And Brock's going to be at the center of all that. Man, isn't it a fun day to be Brock Lesnar? It's always fun. Dude's rich. I'm just saying. But, all right, man. So let's move on. We talked a little bit about John just now. Let's talk a lot more about John. If you want to make waves in WWE during the Hulk Hogan era, you made friends with Hulk Hogan so you could then betray him later. That's what you did. Anytime Hogan made a friend, that dude stabbed him in the back. Seriously. If Hogan made friends with the timekeeper, a dude was stabbed him in the back. I'm serious. It's crazy. Because that's how things were in Hulk Hogan's era. That's just how they were. In the era of John Cena, if you want to make a statement, you just flat out stab him in the back. You ain't got to be buddies for too long. Who are we talking about? Ryback? Well, yeah, he did it. Who else are we talking about? Well, there's a lot of people. A lot of guys. How much time you got? How about the latest one? AJ Styles. Now, let's say this, that the night that John came back, which was on May 30th, Memorial Day edition of Monday Night Raw, thank you very much, he comes out saluting the troops and giving the Memorial Day speech and USA and stuff, because he's John, that's what he does, he's Captain America, right? So Steve Rogers is in the ring, and who interrupts him but AJ Styles? And it looks as though a good buddy AJ is giving him a handshake. Welcome back, John. And the crowd is going insane. You know, chanting John Cena's name, chanting AJ Styles' name. It's insane stuff. It was a good moment, right? Big moment for that brand, for AJ. Big moment for AJ too. Seriously. Well, here comes the club. Gallows and Anderson. Of course, it's all a ruse, and AJ's in and with them. And AJ takes John Cena out. Which, did anyone else besides me notice that John threw his hands up to block a punch, to block a forearm? Are we trying to protect the face now because we got a career in Hollywood now? I don't understand. You're going to block a forearm to the head? I don't know, dude. It made no sense to me. It still doesn't. Maybe because the reports that have been coming out online recently suggest that AJ works a bit too stiff. Let me tell you something about guys that work stiff. Guys that work stiff, that's a good and a bad thing, depending on how you look at it. If a guy works stiff, that means it looks more believable, okay? So if you're in the front row, and I'm going to tell you right now, guys always get stiff when they're near the front row of the crowd because they have to. See, there's no longer 20 feet between you and them, or 100 feet, or whatever it is. No longer that way. What matters now is that they're right in front of you. They got to make it look good because you're going to see if they're pulling their punches, right? So, yes, supposedly AJ works stiff. People have been talking about that for a while, evidently. So, maybe that was why John threw his hands up. So, I'm going to block this forearm. You ain't going to stiff me. I'm John Cena, baby. I don't know, dude. Who knows? But in any event, AJ Styles turns on Cena, and now we're looking at AJ versus Cena for Money in the Bank. Okay. How are we feeling about this? Because I got some feelings. Yo. Want to hear them? I know you did. AJ is known throughout the world. And I've written about this already. Okay, so please feel free to go check out the column. Pretty sure it was on Sportskeeda. Maybe Bleacher Report. Well, we'll talk about it later. But anyway. AJ's known throughout the world. But he's not John Cena. Okay. Big difference in that company and the business, if I'm being honest with you. Now, if you want to make impact in WWE, you have to take out John Cena. You ain't got a choice. You have to. It's what you do, okay? You don't play nice with him. You clip him when his back's turned because you want to work him, okay? You want a main event match. The only way to guarantee a main event match in WWE is to stab John Cena in the back. You're going to get a main event match, which is what's just happened now. At Money in the Bank upcoming June 19th, yes. So here's the issue that I have. A lot of people have. And again, AJ's known throughout the world, but he's not John Cena. This, to me, brings up the age-old debate of the pro wrestler versus the sports entertainer. Okay? Because John will forever be seen as a sports entertainer, and AJ will forever be seen as a pro wrestler. And yes, there is a difference. For anyone out there trying to be, smart mouth. Oh, what's the difference, Tom? What's the difference? There is a difference, jerk. Shut up and I'll tell you. I'm just kidding. I'm not calling any of you jerks. If you're listening to me, we cool. Okay? Here's the difference between the two. A pro wrestler is a pro wrestler's job, a good pro wrestler's job, is to make his opponent look better than he could look with anyone else. Because if you make your opponent look good, you're going to make yourself look good in the process. And if the other guy that you're working has the exact same thought process as you, guess what? Great match. Okay? Everybody wins in the end, including the crowd who can see the effort put forth and they're entertained by it. Now, a sports entertainer's primary concern is entertaining the crowd. So is there a difference? Yes. Is it a major difference? I don't know. I mean, it's a very subtle thing, but I guess maybe the prerequisite of being a sports entertainer is that you can't really work, which AJ came out on the following Monday Night Raw the week later, made the comment that he could work circles around John Cena in the ring. John immediately dismissed that and said that's the best you can do. That's the best you got that you can come up with. Because when John's on the defensive, he's like, hey, yo, what up, Holmes? Listen up here. That's John when he's on the defensive, man. When John's on the offensive or whatever, when he's just being himself or whatever, he's not like that. But the moment you turn on him or the moment you challenge him, he wants to turn his hat sideways and put the chain back around his neck. Because that's how he does, man, and he hopes that you jump in there with him. John Cena should have the full vote of confidence from every red-blooded American man in this country, and he does not. Because he's goofy, okay? He's a goofball. He's a 15-year-old dude in a 30-something-year-old guy's body. And that's what he is. And you know, grown men, even though we act like 15-year-olds sometimes, we don't want to see that crap on TV. We want John to be hardcore like Austin. We want him to come out there and talk smack and back it up, not make stupid jokes. But, you know, that's what John does when he's on the defensive. So he did that with AJ, of course, and, you know, giving AJ the what for, a great little spot. And AJ comes right back and talks about, you know, if I face you, you're going to win. Because he's like, why you got your boys with you? Because if I work you, you're going to win. Flat out just sort of exposing the business there, if you will. It's like, well, I got insurance policy to be sure you don't win. In other words, to be sure that the outcome the booker has pre-planned in which you win this match doesn't take place. It was a really kind of odd crossing, like going through the looking glass kind of thing. You know what I mean? So it was an odd few moments for that spot. But again, a fantastic spot between two top-notch guys. I mean, AJ Styles, arguably the best in the world. I don't know who you would put ahead of him. Nakamura maybe, Okada perhaps, at Angle at one time, I guess. But I'm talking about best in the world right now today, for my money, pound for pound, is AJ Styles. Well, the biggest star in WWE, pound for pound, no argument needed, no debate needed, is John Cena. The perennial top guy of WWE. The guy that inherited Hogan's throne. He is. Straight up, man. In more ways than one, and you know that, right? But Hogan and AJ are the same sides of, they're opposite sides of the same coin. They really are. The pro wrestler versus the sports entertainer. It's a perfect little bit of booking in that regard, because you're always going to have diehard pro wrestling fans saying, John can't work, man. He can't work. Whatever, dude. I've objected to John in the past, and I've voiced my concerns. I've voiced my opinions on how he works in the ring. I still don't think he's a great worker. I will never probably think that about John. I think John has the potential to put on a 5-star match each and every time he goes out there, despite who he's working at any given moment. Do I think he does that? I don't know if he does that. I don't know if he's capable of doing that all the time. You know, I was talking about before about, you know, Brock Lesnar, the way he's booked. How about the way John Cena's booked? Is he good enough? You put a guy in there with John that's younger than John. Okay, will John make that guy look like $1 million? I mean, he and Ryback had a good little feud until it was cut short, in my opinion. So, yeah, I think it's possible. But again, man, you're talking about John Cena. Biggest star in that company today, and has been for over 10 years. John versus AJ Styles. Should be a great top tier main event match when it happens at Money in the Bank on June 19th. But talking about John here, man, John is back from injury, right? Looks healthy, looks ready to go, looks like he's feeling good. Everything seems to be fine with old buddy Cena, right? Okay? The crowd's reaction has been pretty favorable so far. Has John Cena turned a corner, and is he going to win the crowd back? Wow, that's the biggest, most loaded question in the history of that dude's career, and that's straight up. Has John finally turned a corner, and now he's going to win the crowd back? I'm going to be honest with you, man. I don't know what I feel about that, because for too many years now, he's been hated. For too many years now, people have turned on him, okay? For too many years now, it's been, well, John can't do this, or he can't do that, or blah, 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 blah. Okay? And it's been happening for a long time. And I don't know how you overcome all of that with just one return. Now, do I think at some point the fans will ease up on him? I think that's what's happening right now. But once you get John Cena back in the groove, if I win every single match I ever wrestle, and I can't be hurt, and you can't change my attitude, and I'm the same today as I was then, I never change. That stuff works for Jesus. It don't work for John Cena. Okay, straight up. It's two entirely different mindsets, man. People don't want static characters in pro wrestling. And I made this analogy 1,000 times. I'll probably make it 1,000 more. How many times have you read a book where the character is the exact same on page 1 as he is page 300? Okay, if he's the exact same, it must have been a really dull and boring book. The main character has got to change, either physically or mentally or emotionally or his perspective or his worldview or his situation or fundamentally as a person. And he can still be fundamentally as a person at his core the same guy, but he has to change. Life has to affect him. He has to make great decisions and bad decisions. Good things happen to him, bad things happen to him. He makes the wrong choice, he makes the right choice. John Cena never screws up. And as a result of that, John Cena, for my money, pound for pound, perhaps the most boring character that company has produced as a headline main event star. He is. Hogan had charisma. I mean, John has it too. But, when Hogan won all the time, people were going on the journey with him. They're not going on the journey with John. They haven't been a long time because they're tired of it. These days, there's a lot of parity. You know what I'm saying right now? Like, and it's sort of back and forth in the win-loss. I'm not saying that's a good thing, okay, obviously. But when you've got main event guys who don't win every single time they work a match, well, and then you put John Cena up beside those guys and he wins every single time, eventually you're going to get people saying, well, that doesn't make any sense. How come he never changes? How come you can't affect him? How come Dean can't win more than 1 in a row, but John wins 8 in a row? Well, he's John Cena. Well, that's not good enough anymore. We're talking about talent level. We're talking about believability. We're talking about what matches the guy should win and should lose. We're talking about who's selling tickets. Did you get the last part, man? It's about selling tickets. That's the most important thing here, right? Selling tickets. I've said this before and I'll say it again. As long as John Cena sells more tickets than anybody in that company, he is going to continue to be the top guy. That includes Roman, that includes Brock, that includes Seth, that includes Dean, that includes Nakamura or Zayn or Joe or anybody else in that company today. As long as he sells more tickets than anybody else, he will continue to be the top guy. And he should be. I'm not fighting it. It's nothing disrespectful or personal toward John. It really never has been. Straight up, man. It's not now, never has been, never will be either. John is the top guy, should be treated as such. But I will say this, the main event match between he and AJ, John's winning. And if John doesn't win the first match, he's going to win the feud. Because there's only one feud that John hasn't won. He hasn't gotten the best of them yet in the end, and that's Brock. And I still think that's coming eventually, straight up, man. But if, he's going to beat AJ in this feud. AJ could win the first match. This king could go three or four matches. You know that, right? So even if AJ picks up 1 to 2 to maybe even 3, if it's a best of 5 unofficially or whatever, John's winning the feud. You guys know that. You're not going to be mad when it happens, are you? You're not going to tweet me and say, Tom, we thought he was going to win. I can't believe this is happening to me. Really? Shut up. Shut up. You're getting told right now, man. You're getting warned ahead of time. Don't be acting like I didn't tell you. Straight up, man. John's winning this feud. That's it, and that's all. Good night, nurse. It's the truth. He's winning this feud straight up. Nothing's going to change that. AJ can't change that. No one's going to change that. They don't want to change it. Okay? My fear is, where does AJ go after this? What's he do after this? Is he on to Roman? That'd be interesting, right? I mean, I don't know. They had 2 great matches. I don't know. Do you go for a third? I don't think you do. He could be on to Seth. I don't know, man. The doors are open for him to do stuff, to be honest with you. But what do you do after John Cena? We talked a lot about the moon with Brock Lesnar, right? It's like walking on the moon and then coming back to a regular 9-to-5 job. How do you do that? And there's no disrespect to AJ. He's AJ Styles. He deserves to be in the main event with John Cena. Let's just all shut up and get a hold of ourselves, get some perspective right now. I read this column too. AJ deserves this. He really does. But what do you do in terms of your standing in the company once you lose a feud against John Cena? You would hope that gives you the rub to do greater things and big things. It's not. It never has for anybody else. We can only hope that it works and that AJ gets the rub. And yes, indeed he do. He does something bigger than what he's doing right now, and that he goes farther than he will than he will against John Cena. We can only hope. Let's just see if that's true. Just imagine if you're AJ. You come in, you work the World Heavyweight Champion. First of all, you work a legend in Chris Jericho. You lose that. You work the World Heavyweight Champion in 2 matches in which you lose. Then you're on to John Cena. You're going to lose. AJ will be used because of his name, because of his ability, because of his drawing power, because of his main event experience. And then he will lose all the time because he does not ride in terms of the WWE stable. You see what I'm saying? He wasn't WWE creation. He wasn't rolled off the WWE assembly line like John Cena was, like Orton was, like Batista was. He wasn't. He never was. He never will be. Now, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's a great thing. I'm just stating facts, man. AJ's not Vince's guy. Okay, now if he was, this feud might be taking a different turn. It's not. It's not going to, and that's it. Everybody calm down. AJ's losing the feud. Period. So, there you go. Another down note. It's always down notes. Isn't that terrible? Let's talk about our third big topic of the day here. Let's talk about the brand split. As we all know, in the month of July, SmackDown will be going live on Tuesday nights. Big shocker when the news, well, we found out before it was announced on TV, of course, but it was, kind of a shock to the system. Didn't expect that. It makes a lot of sense. They record on Tuesday nights. Why not just go ahead and go live, which is what they're choosing to do. But the live SmackDown brings with it something that some people don't even want to think about, and that's the WWE brand split, which we're probably going to have to go through the same garbage of 2 general managers again, which I don't want anything to do with. There's a lot of things about the brand split I wasn't happy with. At the same time, however, when I had time to reflect on it, when I had time to write about it, when I had time to debate it and discuss it with friends and colleagues, I came to the same conclusion a lot of people are coming with. It's the best time to do it. If you're going to do it, you may as well do it now. WWE's got a lot of talent, but they need a lot more talent, okay? NXT TakeOver the end. They keep calling it the end. A lot of people are debating and hypothesizing about what this means. Does this mean that NXT will join forces with SmackDown? Or that the NXT roster will be split between Raw and SmackDown, NXT will be no more? I don't know what the answer is to those questions, man, but I think it's going to be interesting. And I think WWE needs to beef up both programs because both shows need more talent. And where's all the talent right now? A lot of them are in NXT, but it's the third brand. I would have preferred 3 live brands, if I'm being straight with you. Raw Monday, you got SmackDown Tuesday, then give, NXT Thursday night NXT, where SmackDown was. I think that would have been a great idea, but shows you what I know. They didn't call me and ask for advice. I don't even know why. Okay? But the brand split, how are we feeling about it? Is it going to work for you? Are you looking forward to it? I think it has the ability to work on every level. Whether or not it will, I don't know. It's an interesting thing that's going on right now with that company. Keeping the rosters mutually exclusive to each brand is going to be a challenge because of the possibility of crossing over is always going to be there. Let's not forget that when they did this the first time, that the SmackDown pay-per-views, SmackDown-specific pay-per-views didn't do all that much. And the SmackDown-specific house shows, to my knowledge, didn't do all that much. So that's a fear. Monday Night Raw is the flagship. If you want SmackDown to be considered in the same vein, you got to make it live, which is what they're doing, which is the smart move to do. That was not done by accident. That's done by design in order for the brand split. Everything helps each other, right? It's the way it should be. Seriously, it's going to be, hopefully. Here's what you can say. You can say that they learned their lessons the first time around. Learn how to do this. Learn how to book it. That's the most important thing. How do you book this? And how do you give everyone their fair shake to get all their stuff in, okay, where they can look as good as they possibly can? It's like casting a big movie. It's like casting the Avengers or something. You got all these big name actors. They each need their equal share of screen time. You're going to have these big rosters on Raw and SmackDown because you're going to have to. You can't just have 4 guys on each show working each other. That's just 2 matches. And like 4 promos. 3 hours is a lot of time to film, man. And let me just ask you a question. Are you one of these guys, or you folks listening, are you these guys who are bashing Raw because it's 3 hours? Oh, it just needs to be 2 hours. It's so much better show of 2 hours. Oh, stop. You have any idea how much money's changing hands as a result of Raw being 3 hours? That's a good thing, right? Isn't that a good thing? Okay? Everyone get off the 3 hours. Please, all of you. I'm tired of hearing about it. I've been on it random times myself, talking about it, writing about it, that kind of thing. I get it. But I've never lost any sleep over it. I'm a pro wrestling fan. I want as much pro wrestling on my TV as I can get. If that's 3 hours of Raw, 3 hours of SmackDown, that works for me. 3 hours of NXT, I'll take it. 3 hours of Lucha Underground every Wednesday, I'll take it. See what I'm saying? I want as much as I can possibly get. I'm a wrestling fan. I'll filter out the bad stuff. You ain't got to make me happy every minute of every day. I'm good with it, man. We're good, yo. But I want as much wrestling on my TV as possible. All right? On my phone, on my laptop, on my tablet, on everywhere I can think of, man. I want as much pro wrestling as I can possibly get. I want the network everywhere, and I got it everywhere. Love the network. Love me some network, okay? So I'm the same about the business on TV. Give me more of it. I want a lot more. Seriously, man. No joke all the time, baby. But the brand split, again, have they learned from their mistakes? Are they going to do better this time? The answer, hopefully, is yes. Because if I got to sit there and go through, this general manager versus that general manager crap again, that's the biggest thing. As I said before, I'm not looking forward to that part of all this. If I could skip that part, I would, because I don't really want to deal with it. And Teddy Long, God bless him, bringing him back, he's got a soft spot in the hearts of a lot of people, including myself. I like Teddy Long a lot. Smart guy, too, if you've ever listened to him talk about how he came up in the business. Smart guy. And, he worked to get to where he was, and, he had something to give, and he was a good guy, good talent. I'm not saying he wasn't worth it, but I don't know if I'm ready to see Teddy Long dancing around SmackDown every Tuesday night. I don't even know, man. I think this is the opportunity WWE has to do some new things. I'm just being honest with you. And I think that they have the possibility there to bring in some old hands. I mean, wouldn't it be nice if Edge were guest, or not guest, screw it. What if Edge were general manager of Raw? It's just an idea. I'm just throwing it out there to you. What if Daniel Bryan were general manager of SmackDown? People have to get over this idea of the corporate authority figures working in the ring. Just because Triple H does it once or twice a year doesn't mean anything, man. It means nothing. In fact, the corporate authority figures shouldn't be working matches because they shouldn't be your top heels. Side rant. This is why the authority do not work as top heels. There's no payoff. You can work Triple H. You can't work Stephanie unless you're a woman. And if you're a man, you can't slap her. All you can do is beat up her husband in front of her, and that won't do much good. By the way, the swerve is coming, just so you know. It's coming. Where Triple H is going to sneak attack Shane and, take a sledgehammer and bash his brains in or something. And Stephanie's going to be like, it was a trick, yes! And she's going to start crowing and get on everybody's nerves, mostly mine. And it's going to be a mess. But, yeah, wait and see. It's coming. She hasn't forgot about it. She's playing nice with Shane. It means nothing, okay? Nothing. Just so you know. So the brand split's going to take up a lot of time. We're going to see how it goes. I've written a lot about it. Probably going to write a whole lot more about it as the months go by. July's right around the corner, man, if you think about it. Depending on when you listen to this, it could even be here. If that's the case, why'd you take so long to listen? You're so far behind. I've got friends who are like, dude, I got to get caught up on your podcast. I'm like 4 shows behind. I'm like, dude, what? Craziness abounds here on the main event. Speaking of craziness, guess what? We're almost to the end of the hour. Can you believe that stuff? Seemed like we just said hi a few minutes ago. Now we have to say bye. But never you fear. I got a bunch more stuff to say before we take it home. Okay? I told you before I was going to tell you who I am. Let's go ahead and talk about it now, shall we? I am a WWE analyst / writer / featured columnist. You can catch my work on Bleacher Report. You can also catch it on sportskeeda.com, as well as the highly esteemed Camel Clutch blog. I can be found all 3 places routinely. I also have my own blog, tomclarkbr.wix.com/blog. The production company that my friend Kyle and I own together is called Boink Studios. Yes, indeedy do. You can find us online, tomclarkbr.wix.com/boink. I haven't written anything there in the last little bit, honestly, because the comic book related TV shows have gone on hiatus right now. They're at their break. If anyone knows about about our sister podcast and knows about the website, you know what I'm talking about. By the way, our sister podcast is Tom and Kyle's Comedy Action Hour, which we're on episode 8 or 9, I think it is. The next episode is coming soon. I said that the last 2 shows of the main event. I promise you I'm not BSing you here. They're coming soon. Please be patient. We take time. Brilliance and excellence can't be rushed. They didn't rush the guy making Mount Rushmore, did they? I said rush twice in the same sentence. That was goofball, wasn't it? My apologies. You can't rush perfection, folks. That's essentially what I'm saying here. So calm down. But trust me, man, we want to do this show. It's just, false starts, that kind of thing. We have a history of that here at Boink Studios, but it is what it is. Please stay tuned for that. Go subscribe and download the episodes. They're fairly evergreen, so you don't have to worry about, well, this stuff's already over. It's already happened. Even if it has some of the topics we covered, please go check it out anyway. Please leave a review on iTunes or Google Play as well, if you will. And yes, both shows are available on iTunes, Google Play, Amazon Android, Windows Phone as well. Please go check us out. If you'd like to drop me a line, you can do so on my email, tomclarkbr@yahoo.com. You can also find me on Twitter at TomClarkBR. You can find me on Facebook, where I do mostly what I do is just repost columns and post a little bit about the goings on in everyday life. That's basically it. You can also find actually Boink Studios on Facebook. Just look us up at Boink Studios on Facebook. We're right there. It's not hard to find, man. Just go say hey. I think that's it. We've covered everything. I got a guest spot coming up on a podcast, which we'll hype that online as it gets here. If I'm able to do it, I want to do it. So timing is everything, folks. So we'll see what happens. Anyone that wants to follow me, please keep up with my stuff. Follow me on Twitter. I will follow you back, I promise. We have to thank you once again for listening. We have to thank you for downloading, subscribing to this here podcast. Anyone you know that's into pro wrestling, that loves WWE or pro wrestling in general, please tell them about the main event. We appreciate any business you can throw our way. And as always, we appreciate your patronage. Please go check out our stuff. Check out my writing. Check out the websites I mentioned to you before. Boink Studios, we do a little bit of everything here. All the artwork represented on the Boink Studios website was done by Mr. Kyle Smith himself. The music that you heard on this show, as well as what you will hear on Tom and Kyle's Comedy Action Hour, is all done, by our good friend Philip Fender. He's also under the Boink Studios umbrella. Both Kyle and Phil are available for freelance work if you are at all interested. Just drop us a line on Yahoo, boinkstudios@yahoo.com. I told you we're everywhere, baby. I said that. If there are any websites out there that would like the services of yours truly, please drop me a line. Can't guarantee you I got time, but I'll listen to any offers thrown my way. That's for sure. So, that's it, man. We're taking it home. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for being here. And please come back again real soon. We'll be back as soon as we can, right here on Tom Clark's Main Event.